Welcome to the Rural Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Larson. This week, we're in Pawhuska, Oklahoma with Steven and Tiffany Poe, owners of the Grandview Inn. Steven and Tiffany are sharing how a homeschool group connection introduced them to Ree Drummond, who we all know as the Pioneer Woman, which led them to moving to Pawhuska, and how they now have their own piece of Drummond history at the inn. The inn is a place that radiates charm, complete with a dance floor, sunroom, and incredible architectural elements. Steven and Tiffany make a great hospitality team, and after 7 years of running the Grandview Inn, they have a very fun announcement that you won't want to miss. So here we go with Steven and Tiffany. All right, well, we're here today in Pawhuska, Oklahoma with Steven and Tiffany Poe of the Grandview Inn. Guys, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks so much. We're excited.
Well, tell us a little bit about you. Are you originally from Pawhuska?
We're actually not. We're from the Grand Lake area. Still here in Oklahoma, but the Grand Lake area.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Well, what is it that first put Pawhuska on your radar?
It's kind of a crazy story. In fact, when we tell it, we're like, really? A made-up version might sound a little more appropriate, but it's just crazy, so that's what it is. We decided a long time ago to home educate our kiddos, and through a series of connections and certain people, that were in our world, our homeschool director, who's another Pawhuska local, Cindy Kane, introduced us to Ree Drummond, and through that series, we ended up here. So, yeah, we lived in Tulsa, and Cindy was the director of our home education group there in Tulsa. And one night she said, hey, I want you to come to a sushi party with me out in Pawhuska, where I'm from. She said, I want you to meet my friend Ree. Because at the time I was a director of a culinary school in Tulsa and having a lot of fun. We were pulling the, double shift life, parents of 3 kiddos. I had just had a baby. And she said, bring your baby. Ree loves babies. And I'm like, who's this Ree person? So I had no idea. Chefs don't follow blogs. So I was like, okay. So I meet Cindy here in Pawhuska, and she takes me out to the lodge. And I'm like, where are we going? It was like we drove and drove and drove until we couldn't drive anymore. And there we are in the middle of nowhere. And this lady is hosting a party with 40 of her cowgirl friends, and they're eating sushi in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. And so I was kind of like, this is strange, but okay. So that's the night I met Ree Drummond, and she signed a cookbook for me and, Google over my baby. And the next morning, all my friends started texting me, and I thought, what's going on? They go, oh my gosh, you met the Pioneer Woman. And I thought, how do they even know where I was? I didn't tell anybody where I was going. And long story short, she took pictures that night of my baby, Lily. And the next morning at 5 a.m. on her blog post, it was Lillian, the baby I fell in love with or something. It was so cute. And so all my friends started recognizing the baby post, and they're like, you met Ree Drummond. And that was how it all began.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty funny. And then I started doing projects with her. We ended up doing the Bobby Flay Throwdown, and I was kind of her back kitchen assistance. And then we started working on blog work and cookbook work. And honestly, we just get together and have fun and cook for hours and hours at a time. It was like, the best experience ever, because we just loved food and loved to cook. And it just organically grew into more and more and more, to where eventually I was filming with her on the Food Network show. And we decided to buy this old house here in Pawhuska because I had seen it during a party we had here and just thought, what a cool old house. I would love to live there. And so through a series of kind of crazy events, we ended up buying the house and opening it as a bed and breakfast. And here we are today, 7 years later.
Wow. I love that. Well, what was it like moving from the city to a rural town? And this was before the Merc and everything had opened, right? Or maybe it was not even an idea. I don't even know.
It wasn't. We were we had just moved to Tulsa a couple years before that from a very rural place, almost even more rural than Pawhuska. So Steven and I grew up in the country. We were country bumpkins, as you could say. And we lived on 80 acres, which was Steven's grandparents' farm. And we were really in the country, not as isolated as the ranch, but in more like a country rural atmosphere. So we had, cows next door. In fact, there were cows out in front of my front porch every morning, and just really rural location. But everywhere we had to commute, it was over an hour and a half to get anywhere. And so when we moved to Tulsa, we were like, oh my word, the city, like we were meant to be here. There's a Starbucks and there's like a Target, and then we don't have to drive an hour and a half home. Like, what is this wonderland? So we were getting very spoiled to city life. We were pretty enamored with the whole thing. And I never thought I would move out of the city again. But the idea and the charm of this old home was enough to kind of pull us out and say, okay, what adventure are you willing to take? So it was a big adjustment. We were like, okay, this is going to be good, but we're a little scared to leave like now our comfort of the big city.
Well, tell us a little bit about the history of this home, because we'll post pictures on the blog, but wow.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I first walked in. The film crew was here. They were having a party and watching a little indie film that one of the crew members had made. And I gave myself a tour while they were watching the movie. I was like, don't mind me. I'll just look around. And every room just had its own story. The home was built back in 1923, and it just has such charm to it. I mean, it radiates charm and its own character. But when you hear about kind of what it's been through in its own story, you're like, oh my gosh, I get why it's so cool. So it was built in the 1920s by an Osage native, a man named Tucker, and we weren't able to find a lot of information about him, but he had apparently traveled all over and saw some homes that he liked that were of this style and built it here. So it's close to 7,000 square foot, which was crazy in the 1920s to build something that huge. And it has a dance floor on the third floor. There's a basement. There's this beautiful sunroom. So very different kind of home than what you'd see in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
But in the 1920s, this was definitely somewhere. I mean, this was called the Paris of the Midwest. This was a place where you could drive down and buy a Rolls Royce on the corner. I mean, the first Rolls Royce dealership west of the Mississippi was in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. So this is by no, surprise that this type of home is here. But the fact that it's still in good shape 100 years later almost is because of the families and the people who've taken care of it over the years. And the Drummond family had it for close to 50 years. I think it was Chuck's father, Fred A. Drummond, that bought it from the Lomans. And Ladd and his brothers grew up here a little bit, as well as Chuck, his dad, and then Ladd and Ree even lived here for a couple years when I think the girls were little.
Oh,
so
wow.
Very cool. And then she sold it to a woman named Charlotte, who had kind of a thing for old homes, and she was a really good restorer of historical properties and accuracy in that. I think that was kind of her jam, her background. So she brought the home up to code and did the wainscoting and the wallpaper and restored the hardwood floors and brought central heating and air to the home for the first time in 2004, I think.
Wow.
And new windows, and painted it kind of a stone color. It's white again outside now, but she painted it a different color. And she was going to open it as a bed and breakfast. Well, she ended up moving away, and it was back on the market, and that's how we found it.
Oh, wow. Well, talk to us a little bit about the bed and breakfast experience here.
So after we hosted our first crew, the Food Network crew, they left, and I think we looked at each other and we were like, well, we can't move back into the bedrooms while they're gone because that would be a lot of work. And we might as well just open this thing up to the public, because they were the consistent clientele staying with us about 4 or 5 times a year. But we thought, why not? I mean, what else are we going to do with this big house, right? We really felt like it was supposed to be shared in every way possible. Like, the community really owns this home. In fact, some old timers would stop by unannounced and just come in. No knocking or anything. And it'd be like, hey, so-and-so, how you doing? I grew up in this house, or I used to come here all the time. And I'd be like, well, hi there, buddy. Just come on in. I'm glad I'm not in my house robe or something. Anyway, it was just kind of funny. It was a little different for us because it was such a familiar piece of real estate here that I think there's a real sense of ownership for the community on, we really felt like it should be shared with more than just our family, like a residency. And so we opened it up as a bed and breakfast, never really advertised, just kind of told a few people that we were open. And if anybody wanted to come by and stay with us, word of mouth. We just kind of opened and didn't really have a game plan. We kind of like to say we're accidental bed and breakfast owners. So it kind of worked out to where we started just hosting folks for the Tallgrass Prairie. Who else would come see us?
The Osage Nation.
The Osage Nation, became really good clients, and
just people traveling down 60.
Coming through, visiting relatives here in town, and it just kind of grew. And so Steven sold his business in Tulsa when we moved up here, and he started to really get the groove of enjoying hosting people, and really, he's such a great hospitality person. I'm the one who went to school for being a hospitality professional, but he loves people even more than I do. At some point, I'm like, get out of my house. I don't want to be, I want to be by myself for a while. He just keeps on loving people. So he's the perfect, host and the perfect bed and breakfast owner because of that reason. He just loves people so much. He's really good with people. Even when they're cranky, when they've driven all day and they want to, they just want to put their feet up.
It's not their fault at that point.
It's not their fault. You're right.
So tell us about some of your guests and how this place has impacted them.
Yes, we've hosted people from all over the world. Just the other day, we had 4 people from Japan here who had actually traveled over here to watch the Thunder play and decided to come out and see the tallgrass prairie and the bison. So they stayed with us for a night, and it was very fun. One of them spoke pretty good English, but the rest were kind of hit and miss. But which is fun to try to figure out what each other is trying to say.
Sure,
Sometimes it kind of makes it a game. But we've had a guy here that stayed with us from India for a whole week. He was here working on the computer system for the Osage Nation. He was wonderful. We still follow him on Facebook and Instagram. We had a couple here from Germany who was here for the Tallgrass Prairie. Lots of people from Europe, Canada, China, Malaysia. I mean, just all over the place. It's been amazing, and it's been great for the kids. Oh, Malawi, Africa.
Yeah, Malawi, Africa was kind of the biggest surprise.
Was fun. Yeah, so it's just been, the kids have got to meet all kinds of wonderful people, and they've got to enjoy other cultures while being in the middle of Oklahoma. And it's just kind of been amazing.
It has been amazing. And I think, and our typical guest is, the bed and breakfast goer that likes the pioneer woman conversation as well as wants to do something a little different. They don't necessarily just want to come here and stay. They want to immerse themselves into the culture of being here and kind of getting to know, and they're fascinated by either the house or by the idea of coming and kind of feeling like they're staying with family versus just a typical tourism experience, if you will. And so those end up being the kind of people that we love having breakfast with every morning, because they really want to just chat and hang out. We're like the long lost relatives that they didn't know they had.
And a lot of first time bed and breakfast people, because when we first started, there wasn't a whole lot of places to stay in Pawhuska, just very few. So when people started coming in here by the thousands, we were one of the only options. There wasn't too many more options. So it kind of just grew from there. So it just...
Yeah. We finally decided we needed a website in 2016. When we opened the Merc, Steven was getting 100 calls a day.
Wow.
So we couldn't actually run the bed and breakfast anymore. So I was like, let me jump on and do a quick little website. Let's just get something and get people off of your phone. Uh-huh. So then we finally got a legit website and connected that, of course, to the Mercantile website. And that's been the only advertisement we've really ever done.
Wow.
And so it's all been word of mouth and just, people hearing about it. And of course we have Facebook and all that stuff now, but nothing like at the beginning. We were just like, all right, come by if you want to hang out with us. Very cash. Now it's not as casual.
Yeah. So in addition to hosting overnight guests, you also host parties and other events as well, right?
We do occasionally, yeah. It kind of depends on how much time we have. Yeah. We usually end up getting several parties during Christmas and that kind of thing. We hosted our first wedding back in the spring. Steven's sister got married here. It was a beautiful experience.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've said no to a lot more the last few years because we've just been so busy with day-to-day guests.
An influx of people.
Yeah. I mean, they leave at 8 o'clock, or they get up, we have breakfast by 8:30, and then they're out of here by usually right after 10, but then, of course, we flip the entire home for people to check in by 4. So you think, you've got this time, and then you just don't. Boom, it's over.
Wow.
Checking people in that evening, throughout the evening, and making sure that they're all happy and they got everything they need, and then it's bedtime and time to get up the next morning and do it all again.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've started scheduling a few days off for ourselves.
Yeah, I bet you would have to.
Yeah. You have to.
Well, tell me about your kids and what kind of role they play here.
Well, Steven would be better to speak to that.
Well, in between doing their homeschool stuff, I usually have them help check in guests. They'll help clean the kitchen. They'll help weed the flower beds outside. Now they're starting to mow the yard for me. So just little things, but mostly just checking our guests in, asking if they want water, carry bags in and out, and then sitting and talking to them. I mean, they get to sit and talk to people all over the United States and all over the world. And our kids have gotten very good at just sitting there and having conversations with adults. And, of course, when we have the kids that come through, too, so we always love having the kids come in because our kids are always ready to play with whoever shows up and brings their kids along. So we've enjoyed that. But no, they've been really good about falling in and helping check people in.
Yeah, we believe in child labor around here. Definitely. We're like, hey, if those rancher, families can get together and get up at 5 a.m. and work cattle, y'all can help us make some beds, okay? Like, let's get real here, kids. So we decided to homeschool a long time ago because we really wanted our kids to be like, have a front row view of what our adventure was like. And so we always tell them, no, we're the interesting ones. And when you become interesting, we'll focus on you. Like, we'll make you the center of the family. But for right now, we're the center of the family, and you watch how it's done. Because I think our generation sometimes is like the kid focused. And it's like, what are we doing for Johnny? And like, let's go to Johnny's stuff and make Johnny the superstar. And it's like, I don't have that mentality. I'm like, no, you learn how to do what you're supposed to do, and then you become interesting, and then we'll focus on you. And so it's a little different because, we don't always keep them at the focus of every activity they need to do or whatever. I mean, they're still in all kinds of stuff, dance and all that, but we really want them to see how life's done, first row view or first seat, at the table, and then they can model that versus making it all about them in a way. Teaches them to be a little more of a servant.
Sure, yeah. And what a cool experience for them to get to meet these people from all over the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
It's been cool. And learning how to have conversation with adults and how to interact and how to be hospitable and how to, give instead of just being about me all the time, and how to be appropriate, when to not talk and when to talk. And it's just those are some life skill stuff that, sometimes even high school students don't have, or college kids. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Did your mama not teach you that? Come on.
How did you miss that?
How'd you miss that day in kindergarten? So we have 6 kids total. They range from 14 to 18 months. Our oldest, Mac, he of course is the most help. He's quite the little jewel. He's incredible babysitter. He's like CPR certified. He can pretty much do anything. He's also been cooking with me since he was 2. So he's pretty dexterous when it comes to the kitchen. Is that a word? Dexterous?
Sounds good to me.
It sounds good to you? Okay, whatever. He's pretty good in the kitchen. So he's, of course, fantastic help. And then we have 3 daughters, Zale, who is 11, and Lily, who is 9, and they're both fantastic. Zale's a great pastry chef in her own right, and Lily is always smiling, and she's my little acrobat, so she's always doing gymnastics and dancing. They're all dancers, but Lily's like the one who could be like in the circus, right? She could be up on the circus type, running around. And then we have an angel baby. We have Riley. He actually passed at 36 weeks. And so we have one that lives in heaven. So we always include him as well, because people always say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's like, no, you should feel sorry for the 5 we still have to raise, because they're the ones who need prayer. But the one that's in heaven, he's good. Like, we're good to go on that. But we always like to include him because he's just as much a part of our family, even though he's living in heaven, as all the other ones are. So it's good stuff. And then Sophia, she's our 5-year-old. She was our rainbow baby. She was actually born in the house, which I don't tell a lot of people. I had a beautiful water birth and a home birth here. And yeah, we don't tell too many guests that. We don't want to freak them out. But she was born here in just this glorious kind of redemption season, just total restoration, if you will. Her name means wisdom. And so she just brought so much joy and healing into our family after Riley went to heaven. And then insert Israel. Boom. Here we are. Israel. He's number 6. He's like the big dude in town, right? He's the one that we focus on and like rotate around. So if there was a child we were rotating around in the center, it would be Israel, because he's kind of a big deal. He was born in a whirlwind of activity. Stephen lost his parents in a car accident in fall of 2017. November 1st, he called me, and I was in California, 8.5 months pregnant, getting ready to come home from a conference, and said, Mom and Dad's been in a car accident. And of course, my first reaction was like, oh my gosh, are they okay? What hospital are they in? He said, no, they're in heaven. Like, they're gone.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh my word. So I'm in the bathroom in this, conference by myself, and just almost like in disbelief, like that, how, like you have no words. So fast forward, we went through their memorial ceremony and kind of came back to life from what had happened. And boom, we went to an ultrasound, and the technician said, I think there's something wrong. And he was 38 weeks. We were full term, but not quite ready yet to, be thinking about birth. And she said, no, you need to go to the doctor right now, the hospital, and get a second ultrasound. And sure enough, there was something wrong. He was diagnosed with fetal hydrops, which is a very, very scary kind of situation. It can be caused from hundreds of different things, but it's where the baby starts to collect fluid on their body. And he had to be delivered emergency C-section. So as soon as he was born, he didn't cry. There was no like normal baby-mom interaction, nothing. He was intubated with a breathing tube. I kissed him and he left. And that was the beginning of our like 92-day NICU journey from him. We didn't know what was going to happen, and we had no idea, to him leaving 92 days later in a very, very good state. And so it was his whole 92-day journey could be its own book. But ultimately, he went from having like a 5% chance of survival to the Lord healing him and restoring his life. And here he is today. And so we left with a little oxygen and a feeding tube, and boom, today he's 18, 19 months old, and it's just absolutely flourishing. And so anyway, they came to us and they said, okay, we think he has Down syndrome, and my niece has Down syndrome. So our family's very familiar with like that conversation. We've she's 9. So we've been acclimated to the whole, Down syndrome world for years now. And we were like, okay, but when are we going to leave? And they looked at us weird, and they were like, do you need some help, like some counseling? We're like, no. We're good with that. But like, when are we getting out of this hospital, right? So I think they thought we were a little delusional. And I finally had to explain to the nurses. I said, no. I said, I have a baby in heaven. I said, so you have to understand, my paradigm's a little different. I said, I have a baby in front of me that's breathing, even if he's on a machine. And I really have faith that he's going to make it. So you can tell me anything you want to tell me about him or whatever, but it's light years away from where I've been. So my paradigm's just different. Don't be mad at me for not needing medication or therapy, or I promise I'm not crazy and I'm not in denial. I'm just, my little spectrum slidden over just a little further down the gratefulness track because of what I've experienced before. So I said, he's my double rainbow baby and he's not going anywhere. And so, yeah, it was a very beautiful, redemptive story. So he has blessed our life, oh my goodness, in so many ways. So many ways. He's just the effervescent definition of joy and happiness. And from the moment he wakes up in the morning till the time he goes to bed at night, it's just a blessing to be his parents. I mean, and his siblings. In fact, we all say he's our favorite because he's all of our favorite. So it's pretty cool.
Well, and he is cute as can be, too, so, yeah.
Thank you. He's pretty delicious.
Yeah. Well, you have alluded to this a little bit, but I want to take a minute to have you explain to us in a little more detail about what you do outside of the B&B.
Well, I think that kind of goes into it plays into well with what we were talking about loving people and loving to host people and hospitality. And so I think I knew really early on in my life that hospitality was going to be my language. Like, I just love to feed people and take care of them and to, put on gatherings that bring people together. And I just think it's that fun, way to connect people. And so I always loved food, always loved people. So I became a chef so I could put the two together as often as possible. And my chef journeys have taken me in lots of different directions professionally, but it really helped in getting us to this conversation because when Ree and I met and we started cooking together, it just was kind of a natural, fun time. Like, we were just having a great time. And so, of course, I worked with her for almost 5 years and helped with lots of different projects and really got to see a side of the industry and the world that I had never imagined. Like, when I went to school in New York, and so I was familiar with Food Network, and, they would come and do things at our school sometimes, but I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be working on, this show in the middle of Oklahoma with so many cool national connections happening, but right here. I didn't have to go anywhere for it to really be, something that I could do all the time. So it was really cool. We worked on a lot of neat projects and had just a ton of fun. And so that was a side of my chef world that I had never gotten to do before. So I had taught and I had worked in restaurants and casinos and hotels and resorts and restaurants, of course, and catering, and had my own food truck for a while, and just lots of fun, different things, kind of dabbled in lots of different foodie conversations. But teaching is really what I have always kind of come back to. And so I've taught in a lot of different areas, junior college, private college, high school students, career tech, even incarcerated folks. I taught in prison for 8 years. And that was a really cool, incredible season because they were just such a very dynamic and hungry group of students that it was such a pleasure to teach there because their attention, was so much more they were just so much more hungry. You know, when you feed people who are hungry, it's different than just feeding people that are indifferent to whatever you're making. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's different when you're feeding people and they're really digging what you're making and they're really into it. It's a different feeling. It feels appreciated at a different level. And I think that's what I enjoyed the most about teaching in prison, and never thought I would, but it was very gratifying. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Wow.
But then fast forward, meeting Ree Drummond, all the fun with that. And then I finished my master's degree and really wanted to teach in higher ed. So the opportunity presented itself. I missed my students. I loved Ree. I loved everything, but I really missed teaching. You know, when you've had students your whole life and then you don't, you're like, what the what? Like, we're, you know, I'm like the Dead Sea. It's like inlet but no outlet, you know? So I went back to teaching and got a chance to open a beautiful $30 million facility for Oklahoma State University, and just so many cool opportunities there. Had great connections and colleagues and mentorship and students, and made memories there that will last me for that'll be at the front of my memory for years. And so just wrapped up that season of my life, and now I'm a corporate chef for a huge company out of Oklahoma City that I just adore. I've been using their products for 20 years, and so now to be a brand ambassador for them and to work with their company on the new season of their growth and excitement is really an honor. So it's pretty cool. It's been fun to be in this industry because, gosh, you just get to hang out with the best people. You know, hospitality people are just the best people. It's awesome.
What a journey.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Wow.
It's been a lot of fun.
Well, as a family, you guys have decided to make a big change in 2019.
Woo. Yeah. Big time.
Tell us more about that.
Well, when we had Israel, we knew our life would be different from then on. And that was a good thing because, we've always been adventurous people, but insert Israel, and it's like a whole game changer of conversation, which is cool. In fact, his name means God always has the last say, and he always keeps his promises. So for him to, come into our life and have such a major, it was like, gosh, dude, you couldn't just be born. You had to have this like total drama scene, involved with it. So yeah, don't do anything little. Do it just really big. So now we think differently. We're like, okay, what do we want to do? What kind of opportunities do we want to give him, through his life and for our other kids as well? And this has been great and been fun and we love it. But, every season comes to an end, and you wouldn't appreciate the last season if the new one wasn't before you, and you start to have those almost fond memories of the last one. It looks different, right? You start to kind of turn it into the memory version of your mind and your thoughts versus the current and the future, because that has to be new and different. And so for us, we're always looking for new and different. And when we decided to look at where we would be in the future, Tulsa really presented itself again to be the place. In fact, my sister, who has the little girl with Down syndrome, she was the first person I told in the hospital that he had been diagnosed, and she starts crying. And I was like, oh, no, you don't get to cry. Like, if anybody's going to cry, I'm going to cry. Yeah. She said, no, I'm not crying because he has Down syndrome. She's like, I'm crying because we're moving back to Tulsa, or we're moving to Tulsa, and I'll be able to help you with him. And so it was the first time in almost 20 years that my sister and I had been in the same city. She's always lived farther away, and so it's a beautiful time for us to come back together as a family. So it's like everything always happens for a purpose. But I went to Steven and I said, I really think we're supposed to move back to Tulsa. And he said, well, I don't think it's time yet for me to leave the B&B. And I'm like, what? No, I can't stay here any longer, man. Come on. We gotta go. We gotta do something, He said, no, I'll tell you when it's time. It's all good. He's like the tree planted by the river that never moves. And I'm the bird that makes like nests in every branch. I'm like, so I just had to get over it and wait for a little bit. Well, finally, some things happened in the spring, and we found a house in Tulsa. And after that, he said, okay. He said, that competition we talked about a long time ago? And I was like, oh, that, like the one that, they had done on the East Coast where they gave their bed and breakfast away in this competition. He said, yeah. He said, I think we should do that with our B&B. I thought, oh my gosh, really? Like, are we really going to do this? Wouldn't it just be easier to sell it and like cut and run, Yeah. He said, no. He said, I really think we should do this. So we decided to put together a competition where folks could apply and interview basically through their application to be the next innkeeper. So there's a small application fee. It's like the price of a one-night stay. And then it's all basically, we want to know about them. Why would they want to own a bed and breakfast? How would this change their life? Because it's changed our lives. We want to pass it on to somebody that wants that adventure as bad as we did and who's kind of willing to take the journey. And then what do they love about Osage County? So many cool things have happened and continue to happen in Osage County that it is just this unique, almost like surreal, fictitious place on earth. Like when you start to think about what's happened here, but also what continues to happen here and the cool things that are going on and the people that it attracts, I mean, it's kind of a weird, perfect storm. Yeah. And it just keeps getting better and better. And so it's a very cool place in the world. And I can imagine with as many people as we've had visit here and that have learned about it and with all the other cool things that are happening, what a cool opportunity for somebody, right? The right person. And then lastly, we want to know, what do they think about hospitality? What's your perspective? What's your opinion about hospitality? How do you feel about it? Because that tells us everything we want to know about who could potentially take over. And so all that's important because, you can apply, you can answer these questions, but then what we'll do is we'll have a panel of judges that are all Pawhuska, people that have a stake in Pawhuska long term, and we will give them the top 100 essays based upon criteria that we've developed, and then we allow them to pick the winner. So they will review those 100 essays, the last 100 finalists, anonymously. They won't know who they belong to. We will know that, but they won't. And then they will give us their top 1, 2, and 3 winners, and we'll contact them and turn over the keys and help them. We'll train them and teach them what we know about the place, and then they'll get to have a fully furnished, turnkey, booked business to take into the next season of this incredible historic home. And so, yeah, it's amazing. There's been a lot of different competitions like this in the past, but there's never been one with this kind of story. Yeah. In fact, when we spoke with some of our, our lawyers and our friends that are advising us on this, they said, normally we would say this is crazy. Like, you guys are kind of crazy. And I go, well, we know we're crazy, so you don't have to tell us that. So we tell people, okay, we're giving our bed and breakfast away. What does that really mean? And so the first time I told somebody that, they kind of looked at me like I had 3 heads. And I said, no, you understand. We're hosting a competition. It's in Oklahoma, it's illegal to have your own giveaway, raffle. So because that's the casino, they have gambling laws. And of course we want to honor those. So it's not a happen chance. It's not a random drawing. It's a competition of skill. So that's why there's the question. So you have to actually tell us something about yourself to be qualified to apply. So it's an application online. You visit our website. And there's 4 questions. We ask you, kind of a little bit about how you want to be involved or what your perspective is on this concept of owning a bed and breakfast. And then there's an application fee. We made the fee $140 because we really wanted to be the same as a one-night stay, right? Yeah. Someone would risk a one-night stay to have an opportunity to be an innkeeper, right? I would do it.
That, yeah.
And so it's a fair exchange of application for entrance. And then we have a panel that will pick the finalists. So we're not actually involved in picking the finalist. We will have a panel of Pawhuskans who have a stake in the game picking the finalist. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So we have to have, for the competition to be viable, we have to have 10,000 folks enter and apply. Now, you can apply as many times as you'd like. We didn't want it to feel like a one-stop shop. So we've written the competition where you can apply as many times as you'd like. We just want you to give different answers or different facets of your life in the answers. So you can apply and tell us about one version can be all about your professional ambitions. If you're a hospitality person and you want to run this as an event center or as a small boutique restaurant, or, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to work with my family and have my kids at home with me and have, the scenario like what we've had the last 7 years, or, oh my goodness, I love Pawhuska, I love Ree Drummond, I want this to be, she used to live here, so it's kind of a cool novelty thing.
Yeah.
We're the only ones in town that can say that. We're a former Ree Drummond home.
Yeah.
She actually lived here. So that's, and she'll tell you, she's like, I loved living in that house, Tiffany. I loved the chandeliers and the cool old, crown molding and all that. Or I've always wanted to host people and be able to, share my life with other people every day, because that's important. You have people every day with you in your house. Wow. So you can't love your privacy too much.
That's true.
It's true.
Well, what are you most excited about for whoever gets to be the new owners?
Oh my goodness. I think the most exciting factor about what we're doing is the chance for someone to be on an adventure and to learn about Pawhuska from the eyes of a business owner and from someone who gets to be here 24/7. You know, it's a different rhythm and a different tempo. I think I'm excited for the next innkeeper because Pawhuska is growing. It's becoming an incredible destination for tourism, hospitality, what we call gastrotourism, which is the travel for food and drink and that experience, as well as all the cool things that happen in Osage County. And I'm really excited that whoever takes over will get to kind of come in at a perfect time. You know, we started 7 years ago and there was a lot happening, but there's so much more now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all these potential of other opportunities and businesses and things that are coming. And I think the best is yet to come. I think as we come into 2020, there's going to be a whole thing of insurging of excitement and new things and new growth coming into Pawhuska. And so by no means is this the end. This is just the beginning for someone. And so if you love hospitality, if you love people, if you love the idea of, you know, this home is just, it's so incredible. What happens here with people is really magical. In fact, I sat in the living room right after we bought the home. We closed and we came back here, and I sat in the living room, and it was just, I had this moment where, like, I know I'm going to leave this place someday. I'm glad it's not now because I really want to stay here for a while. I just want to kick my feet up and get comfortable, like make a cup of coffee and have that feeling. And I have that feeling every morning when I wake up here. I wake up, I look outside, you know, there's hardly anybody awake. The community's just kind of coming awake and you know, getting excited for the day. And I sit in the living room and I have the same feeling I had that first day. There's just so much peace here, so much peace. And so much potential of what could be. So like being able to start your day like that and realize, oh my goodness, this day can be anything I want it to be. And I get to start it like this in this cool old house with cool old wallpaper and the cool crown molding and this cool old fireplace. Like, how cool is that? It's super cool.
Yeah.
I used cool too many times.
No, it really is cool though. Seriously. Well, what have you loved about Pawhuska and what are you going to miss the most?
Oh, that's so easy. The people. The people. Like, there's a cool old house here, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening here. There's some cool old buildings downtown and all that, and there's some cool stories and some beautiful things that have happened here. But the people are what really make this town magical. We've had folks move here from all over the country already because they've fallen in love with the people. They have literally just been captivated by the people here. And they're the most genuine, down-to-earth, salt-of-the-earth people that you could ever imagine. And there's a lot of them. Usually you get a small concentration of people like that anywhere you go because, you know, birds of a feather flock together. Yeah. But Pawhuska kind of has a lot of that. And so it's a beautiful story because it's the people that make anything magical. I think Disney said it best. He said, you know, you can build a magical kingdom and you can make a magical world, but it's the people who really bring the magic to work every day. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but Walt Disney said it best. He said it's the people. You have to have people, and it's all about them at the end of the day. So, yeah. We made a lot of friends here. They're going to have to come see us in Tulsa.
Absolutely.
Actually, we're going to come see them again in Pawhuska, so it'll be fine.
It goes both ways.
It goes both ways.
Well, you literally have watched this town transform in incredible ways. What has it been like to be able to watch and experience that whole process?
It's been pretty magical. I always feel I have to pinch myself because I feel like we have transformed as a family as much as the town has. So whereas we've been watching this outside thing happen as well, we painted the house white again this year. We got a beautiful green roof on it. So it looks very historical. It looks very like stately now in this different way. It's kind of like the new season, the new look, the new transformation of the B&B too, as well as the town. So we had to get excited about, let's take the Grandview into the next season too. So we were able to give it a facelift and make it super progressive with the town. Like we had to keep up, right?
Yeah.
So now it has a different look. It has a different feel to it as well. But we've transformed as much as the town. And so that's what's beautiful is like we feel like we've been on a journey inside as much as we have on the outside. And then to watch it on the outside take place, you just feel like you're part of something really magical.
Yeah.
Really magical.
Well, we drove by the other night, and it really is like the mansion on the hilltop. I mean, it was just all the lights were on, and it just had this wow factor.
Oh, thank you. It's going to be really hard to leave this place.
Yeah.
It's been a very special part of our family and a very, very deep-seated root in our hearts. And so it's as hard to let go as it is to think about the new season. But you don't get the new without letting go of the old.
No.
So.
And it's an incredible opportunity for somebody to be part of the rural revival going on here.
That's so true. That's so true. We pray for the new owner every day. We don't know who they'll be. We don't know if we know them or if we don't know them. We don't know where they at or where they live or what they're going through right now or what the dreams they have in their heart. You know, we've seen so many of our dreams come to pass here. It's been a real magical time for us, and we just pray that they'll be really, really blessed by what's in store for them in the future. So we're excited. Can't wait to meet them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's you.
That's incredible. Well, how do we follow the Grandview Inn, and where can people go to find more out about the giveaway?
Absolutely. So we're at the Grandview Inn, Oklahoma.com. Oklahoma's all spelled out. And you can visit our website there. Google us. We're all over social media, and it's pretty easy to find. And you can follow us there. You can find out more about our competition at grandviewoklahoma.com/giveaway. And if you just type in B&B Pawhuska, you'll see us as well. So we're on Facebook and Instagram, and we're just having fun. So come join us.
Yeah. Well, Tiffany, thank you. And Steven, I know he had to step away.
He did. He actually had to go take care of real guests.
Yeah,
and do his real innkeeper job.
Just day in the life.
He did.
Well, thank you guys for your time. It's been great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Well, I love that Steven and Tiffany have always felt like the community owns this house and that it was a place to be shared, and how they're now involving the community in this amazing giveaway. So, if you are someone who loves people, food, hospitality, and small town America, and want to be part of the incredible rural revival happening in Pawhuska, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you won't want to miss. Be sure to check out the links in our show notes where you can learn more about the giveaway, and we can't wait to see who the next innkeepers are going to be. Thanks again to Steven and Tiffany for being on the podcast and for their incredible generosity. And thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Have a great day, everybody.